You know you've truly arrived when your address is simply an island's name. In the azure embrace of the Ionian Sea, Skorpios stands as the ultimate billionaire's plaything. 83 hectares of money is no object, where Aristotle Onassis once hosted the world's most exclusive parties. When he purchased this barren rock in 1963 for 14,000 modern dollars, the shipping magnate didn't see limitations. He saw a blank canvas. Wanted trees? Import 200 varieties. Needed a beach? Bring in sand from Salamis. Required fresh water? Buy a mountain elsewhere and pipe it in. The small chapel that hosted his wedding to Jacqueline Kennedy witnessed history that paparazzi would kill for, while the pink villa became synonymous with privilege beyond imagination. Now, as Russian fertilizer billionaire Dmitry Rybolovlev pours 400 million euros into creating a resort where weekly stays cost more than most homes, Skorpios reminds us that islands, like diamonds, are forever. But ownership is just a matter of who has the bigger bank account. In today's episode of Old Money Mansions, we'll take you inside the private world of Skorpios Island, from its days as the ultimate celebrity playground to its current 400 million euro transformation into the Mediterranean's most exclusive resort. Rising from the azure embrace of the Ionian Sea near Lefkada, Greece, Skorpios Island emerges like a verdant mirage, its 83.2 hectares of irregularly shaped terrain standing as a tangible proof of what limitless wealth can conjure from barren earth. The island, once little more than sun-scorched rock, now boasts over 200 varieties of imported trees, creating a lush canopy that stretches from south to north, perhaps the most expensive shade in the Mediterranean. East Beach, a golden crescent that appears natural to the untrained eye, is actually an elaborate artifice, created when Aristotle Onassis imported sand from Salamis Island. Because when you're worth billions, why settle for the pebbles nature provided? 3 exclusive residences punctuate the landscape, the most notorious being the Pink Villa, originally stables transformed into Jackie Kennedy's personal retreat after her marriage to Onassis, a cottage that witnessed both passionate romance and calculated political alliance. A helipad crowns one section of the island, ensuring that even in the most remote Mediterranean paradise, the global elite need never be inconvenienced by anything as pedestrian as a lengthy boat journey. The small marina on the north side, once home to Onassis's legendary yacht, Christina O, cuts into the coastline with surgical precision. Roads wind through the property like arteries, connecting the various structures in a circulatory system designed for the lifeblood of wealth and privilege to flow unimpeded. The island's water supply, piped in from a mountain on a neighboring island that Onassis simply purchased when confronted with Skorpios' lack of natural sources, represents an infrastructure project that reportedly cost the equivalent of 100 million euros, proving that when nature says no, sufficient capital can persuade it otherwise. A small Greek Orthodox chapel, site of the famed wedding between Onassis and Jackie Kennedy in 1968, stands in modest contrast to the surrounding opulence, its humble dimensions belying its outsized role in the island's mythology. The family compound, strategically placed to maximize both privacy and views, epitomizes the Mediterranean aesthetic with terraces that seem to float above the sea, allowing inhabitants to survey their domain like nautical royalty. Behind the main residences, carefully designed gardens create secluded spaces where the burden of being photographed could momentarily be set aside, allowing even the most public figures a rare taste of anonymity. Every corner of Skorpios whispers of calculated luxury, from the imported flora to the meticulously crafted vistas, each element arranged to create a paradise that would make both gods and paparazzi envious. As we wander through this manufactured Eden, the ghosts of celebrities past seem to linger at every viewpoint, their champagne glasses eternally raised to the setting Mediterranean sun that bathes everything in the golden light of retrospective glamour. What we see today on Skorpios is merely the skeleton of its former glory, the bones of a lifestyle so exclusive that even its memories demand a velvet rope and guest list. While the waves lap gently against the man-made beaches and imported trees sway in the breeze, one cannot help but wonder what tales these artificially placed routes might tell if they could speak of the island's transformation from barren outcrop to pleasure palace. A metamorphosis as dramatic as any in the archives of wealth's ambitious alchemy. In 1963, while most men were content to purchase summer homes or perhaps modest beach cottages, Greek shipping magnate Aristotle Onassis casually acquired an entire island for approximately 3.5 million drachmas, the equivalent of about $14,000 today, a sum that wouldn't buy you a decent watch in his social circles. The audacious purchase of Skorpios represented more than a real estate transaction. It was the manifestation of Onassis's desire to create something entirely his own, a private kingdom where he could reign supreme, far from the prying eyes of the public, yet perfectly positioned to entertain the global elite on his terms. What Onassis bought was hardly the paradise we envision today, but rather a nearly barren piece of land, its potential visible only to a man accustomed to transforming empty ocean into shipping fortunes. The transformation began almost immediately, with Onassis embarking on what might be the Mediterranean's most ambitious landscaping project, importing over 200 varieties of trees to blanket the once arid terrain in lush greenery, a horticultural flex that screamed, "Money is no object," in the international language of excess. No specific architect is documented for the original construction on Skorpios, suggesting that Onassis himself played the role of head planner, likely collaborating with engineers and landscapers who knew better than to question the vision of one of the world's richest men. The design principles that guided Skorpios' development appeared to balance three key elements: luxury without ostentation, privacy without isolation, and natural beauty enhanced rather than overwhelmed by human intervention, a philosophy that wealthy island owners still attempt to emulate, usually with less success. Perhaps the most remarkable engineering feat was Onassis's solution to the island's lack of fresh water. He simply purchased a mountain on a nearby island and developed infrastructure to pipe water to Skorpios, demonstrating that geographic limitations are merely inconveniences when one's bank account reaches a certain magnitude. The creation of East Beach involved transporting sand from Salamis Island, an extravagance that transformed a rocky coastline into a golden playground for the privileged few who would receive coveted invitations to the Onassis sanctuary. Roads were carved into the landscape with precision, electricity installed throughout, and harbour facilities constructed in the northern bay to accommodate his famous yacht, the Christina O, named after his daughter, in a rare display of sentimentality from a man otherwise known for his ruthless business acumen. The family compound, featuring 3 residences strategically positioned to maximize both privacy and views, was designed to serve as both intimate family retreat and stage for entertaining global dignitaries, a dual purpose that reflected Onassis's understanding that power is best exercised in relaxed, controlled environments. Interestingly, Maria Callas, the renowned opera diva and Onassis's lover before Jackie Kennedy entered the picture, reportedly collaborated on the island's vegetation planning, adding a romantic dimension to Skorpios' creation story that the shipping magnate likely never anticipated becoming public knowledge. The construction of a helipad and boat quay ensured that guests could arrive in style, bypassing the mundane experience of commercial travel that ordinary millionaires might endure. Because in the Onassis world, exclusivity began with the journey, not merely the destination. While no famous architectural firm can claim Skorpios as part of their portfolio, the island's development reflected a coherent vision of Mediterranean luxury that prioritized comfort and exclusivity while maintaining an organic relationship with the surrounding seascape, proving that taste, unlike shipping routes, cannot simply be purchased. The small Greek Orthodox chapel, which would later host the wedding of the century between Onassis and Jackie Kennedy, was perhaps the most understated element of the island's design, its modest proportions belying the outsized role it would play in cementing Skorpios' place in celebrity history. By the time the initial transformation was complete in the mid-1960s, Skorpios had evolved from an unremarkable dot in the Ionian Sea to a self-sufficient paradise that perfectly expressed its owner's philosophy. It's not being on the island that matters. It's the knowledge that we own it. That is what gives us pleasure. As the imported trees took root in foreign soil and the infrastructure hummed with efficient luxury, Skorpios stood ready for its moment in the international spotlight, poised to become not just a private residence, but a mythical destination where shipping wealth and American political royalty would create headlines that would echo across decades and continents. During the 1960s and early 1970s, Skorpios ascended to its zenith as the ultimate playground for the global elite, a period when the guest list for a casual weekend might include names that would make the most exclusive Manhattan hostesses weep with envy. The island's golden era was defined by lavish parties where Marilyn Monroe might be spotted chatting with Winston Churchill, while Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton sipped champagne on the deck of the Christina O, the kind of social alchemy that no amount of new money has ever quite managed to recreate. Legendary gatherings often featured Maria Callas singing impromptu duets with Frank Sinatra, as the Mediterranean sunset provided a backdrop that even Hollywood's best-set designers couldn't match, performances for which tickets could not be purchased at any price. The social pinnacle of Skorpios, and perhaps its most enduring cultural moment, came on October 20th, 1968, when Aristotle Onassis married Jacqueline Kennedy in the island's small Greek Orthodox chapel, an intimate ceremony with just 40 guests that nevertheless captured the world's imagination and sparked countless tabloid pages. Jackie, resplendent in Valentino, with her sister Lee Radziwill serving as matron of honor, transformed from America's widow to Greece's trophy wife in a ceremony that lasted barely 20 minutes, but changed the narrative of both participants forever. The reception aboard the Christina O exemplified the Onassis approach to entertaining. Unmatched luxury presented with a casual air that suggested such opulence was entirely normal, a perspective only those born on third base thinking they've hit a triple could genuinely adopt. Beach parties during this era regularly included the children of famous Greek and international families, creating a next-generation network of privilege that would extend the Onassis influence far beyond the shipping mogul's lifetime. John F. Kennedy, Jr., whom Onassis reportedly mentored despite complicated feelings about his mother's remarriage, became a frequent visitor, adding another layer to the complex Kennedy-Onassis relationship that fascinated the public on both sides of the Atlantic. Privacy, the ultimate luxury, occasionally proved elusive even on Skorpios, as evidenced by the 1971 incident when Jackie was photographed sunbathing nude by an Italian paparazzo, proving that no island is truly private when public fascination reaches a certain fever pitch. The seemingly unstoppable momentum of Skorpios' ascendance came to an abrupt and tragic halt on January 20th, 1973, Onassis' birthday, when his son Alexander died in a plane crash, a loss from which the shipping magnate would never recover. Following this devastation, Onassis reportedly said, "I have no reason to live anymore." And indeed, the vibrant social scene of Skorpios diminished considerably as its master's enthusiasm for entertaining waned in direct proportion to his grief. When Aristotle Onassis himself died in 1975, the island entered a period of relative dormancy, its purpose shifting from social showcase to memorial, as it became the final resting place for Onassis, Alexander, and eventually his daughter Christina. The 1980s saw a brief revival under Christina Onassis' stewardship, though her first order of business was the somewhat petty but understandable removal of all traces of Jacqueline Kennedy from the Pink Villa, reflecting the complex family dynamics that money amplifies rather than resolves. Christina's renovations of the Pink Villa, assisted by architect Kostas Voutsas and painter Ioannis Tsarouchis, attempted to recapture some of the island's former glory, but without the magnetic presence of Aristotle himself, Skorpios never quite regained its position as the epicenter of Mediterranean high society. By the time of Christina's premature death in 1988, Skorpios had transitioned from vibrant social hub to somber family memorial, its pristine beaches more likely to host contemplative walks than champagne-soaked soirée. The island's golden era, spanning barely a decade from the mid-60s to the mid-70s, exists now primarily in fading photographs and the memoirs of aging socialites who still drop "When I Was on Skorpios with Ari" into dinner conversations whenever they need to remind younger generations of their once proximity to real power. Skorpios Island slipped from the grasp of the Onassis dynasty in 2013 when Athena Onassis, Aristotle's only surviving heir and a woman apparently unburdened by sentimentality, sold the legendary property to Russian billionaire Dmitry Rybolovlev for a reported $153 million, effectively ending Greek ownership of what many considered a national treasure. The legality of this transaction remains questionable in certain circles, as Onassis's will stipulated that the island should remain in the family as long as they could afford to maintain it, or be donated to Olympic Airlines or the Greek state if upkeep became untenable. A detail that prompted Greek MP Yannis Mihalakis to raise questions in Parliament about whether money had once again proven more powerful than legal intentions. Rybolovlev, whose fortune derives from potash fertilizer rather than the more romantic business of shipping, initially registered the purchase under his daughter Ekaterina's name, perhaps suggesting that even oligarchs understand the value of maintaining at least a veneer of legacy when acquiring properties with storied pasts. Rising taxes and maintenance costs during Greece's economic crisis reportedly motivated the sale, with the annual financial burden becoming too great even for the considerable Onassis fortune, proving that even the ultra-wealthy are not immune to fiscal pressures when governments desperate for revenue cast about for low-hanging fruit. Under Rybolovlev's ownership, Skorpios is undergoing its most dramatic transformation since Onassis first imported those 200 varieties of trees, with plans approved by the Greek government in December 2020 for an ultra-luxury resort dubbed the VIP Exclusive Club, because apparently there weren't enough exclusive playgrounds for billionaires in the Mediterranean. The Norwegian architectural firm Snøhetta, known for prestigious projects like the Library of Alexandria and Le Monde headquarters in Paris, is spearheading the design with a focus on creating a green island that maximizes use of the existing landscape. Though one imagines that Onassis might have quipped that there are more efficient ways to spend 400 million euros than making an already green island greener. The ambitious redevelopment includes plans for a 60-bedroom resort, a spa that will undoubtedly offer treatments costing more than the average Greek's annual salary, sports facilities for those who prefer their exercise with an ocean view, and an expanded marina capable of accommodating the increasingly grotesque super yachts that serve as the modern equivalent of male peacock feathers. Additional features of the resort will include a vineyard, because every billionaire harbors secret dreams of being a gentleman farmer, an amphitheater for private performances, and a helipad upgrade to accommodate the latest models of private helicopters, ensuring that the inconvenience of commercial travel remains safely theoretical for guests. Environmental constraints provide the only check on this extravagance, as Skorpios falls within a Natura 2000 protected area, limiting development to no more than 5% of the island's total area, a restriction that probably feels oppressive to those accustomed to building whatever they please, wherever they please. Security measures have reached levels that would impress a paranoid dictator, with around-the-clock surveillance from cameras and reportedly even snipers to prevent unauthorized visitors, plus the confiscation of mobile phones from the approximately 400 construction workers who arrive daily by boat from Lefkada, creating what some have described as a James Bond-style resort atmosphere before the first guest has even checked in. When completed, expected by summer 2024, though no updated status is available as of April 2025, the resort will accommodate a maximum of 50 guests at any time, with weekly rentals ranging from €950,000 to €1,800,000, pricing that ensures even most millionaires will have to settle for Instagram glimpses of the property. The iconic pink villa, once Jackie Kennedy's retreat, may be transformed into a museum, according to some reports, preserving a tangible connection to the island's glamorous past while providing context for the less historically inclined billionaires who might otherwise remain unaware they're sipping champagne on the same spot where American political royalty once sunbathed. Rybolovlev reportedly plans to transform Skorpios into an art island by relocating parts of his impressive collection, which includes works by Pablo Picasso, Henri Matisse, Mark Rothko, and Amedeo Modigliani, potentially giving the development a cultural patina beyond just being another playground for the ultra-wealthy. To facilitate this artistic vision, Mike and I S.A., the company created to develop the island, has increased its investment from €165 million to €400 million and expanded the construction area to include cultural buildings, suggesting that no expense will be spared in the attempt to purchase the one thing money theoretically cannot buy: taste. Despite changing hands from shipping tycoon to fertilizer magnate, from Greek icon to Russian acquisition, locals still refer to Skorpios as the island of Onassis, a subtle linguistic resistance to the notion that heritage can be bought as easily as real estate. As super yachts begin to dock at the expanded marina and helicopters descend upon the upgraded helipad, the ghosts of Aristotle, Alexander, and Christina Onassis will observe from their graves on the island as a new chapter unfolds in Skorpios' history, one written in Cyrillic rather than Greek, but still fundamentally telling the same old story of wealth seeking its most ostentatious expression. With that said, we'd love to see you in the comments. Which celebrity guest would you have most wanted to meet at one of Onassis' famous parties? Thank you for watching another episode of Old Money Mansions. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.